Whatever happened to Trijets in the invigorating time traversing the 70s to the mid-90s? The avionics world was set on fire by the astounding ascent of triple-fly motor airplanes, affectionately known as Trijets. These glorious flying wonders didn't simply take off through the skies, they used an unrivaled power that left the world in wonder. Airplane makers at the time chose the most proficient method for accomplishing this was by going for something more remarkable than the two-motor twin planes and less expensive to keep up with than the four-motor quad. Planes also, consequently, Trijets were conceived. Trijets kept on being a staple of business air travel for a long time. Yet the steam appears to have run out, and they're scarcely utilized for business flights today. So what has been going on with them? Just put Trijets, or airplane, prepared with three stream motors, one on each wing. Furthermore, a third on the tail, or fuselage Trijets, really existed during the 1930s before the Second Great War, as propeller-driven airplanes anyway during and after the Warstream motors created at a fast pace, with four motor quad planes being the principal stream airplanes to fly financially. And by 1962, the mechanics, what's more, plan of the Tri-Stream would advance to what might turn into the trailblazer of three-motor business flights dissimilar to their twin and quadjet partners. Trijets gloat an earth-shattering plan that puts a focal motor right along the heartline of the airplane. This arrangement isn't simply intriguing, it's a distinct advantage picture. This is smooth and enthralling airplane with a motor decisively situated at the back, fuselage associated by a low-drag, ES-form conduit. This advancement isn't simply about style, it's tied in with giving unparalleled execution and control. One of the primary business Trijets was the Boeing 727, which was created by Boeing from 1962 to 84 and was incredibly famous during the 1970s because of its capacity to work in more modest air terminals and on more modest runways. The three biggest carriers in the U.S. Delta, American and joint carriers, all worked huge armadas of Boeing, 727s indeed. Even Germany's Lufthansa couldn't help it. The charm embracing the force of this airplane, different makers saw the outcome of the tri-stream planes, thus created renditions of their own, for instance across the lake. Another titan arose, the vendor. Tragically, Spear, this English creation appearance to the 727, took off in 1964, mixing the skies with European fervor, yet the unfortunate tale didn't end there. McDonnell Douglas saw the early achievements of Boeing with the new tri-fly choice and sent off their own Trijet, the DC-10, out of 1968, pointing not to only contend yet to reclassify the very pith of flight. The DC-10's notable focal motor format demonstrated that power could without a doubt be reconsidered. They additionally fostered the replacement to the DC-10 airplanes called the McDonnell Douglas, or MD-11, in January 1990. The MD-11 would accompany limit with respect to an additional 50 travelers, as well as variations like all-tanker traveler, convertible tanker, and blend, which saw travelers and freight stay in the principal deck, and extra cargo put away in the deck underneath. In the meantime, other plane creators such as Lockheed Martin with the L-1011 TriStar in 1970, and the Soviet Association's Tupolev, off with the 2,154 out of 1,968 would make an introduction to the tri-fly market. Be that as it may, they found it challenging to appropriately infiltrate the American market due to the starting progress of the Boeing 727s, along with the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 and MD-11. Fun reality Tupolev have really sold more, 154s than McDonnell. Douglas sold DC-10s and MD-11s consolidated. However, they were, for the most part, sold inside the Soviet Association. There was essentially a competition to see whose Pike airplane would be the most fruitful. And for an airplane that is being eliminated today, you start to wonder exactly why they were so famous. Trijets were famous for the primary explanation they were made: expanded departure power while keeping up with greatest fuel proficiency, which made them more reasonable to the medium-sized aircrafts who had seen interest for their flights shoot up around a similar period. However, this is a very oversimplified method for putting it in light of the fact that Trijets offered far beyond recently cost proficiency. Now, one benefit they have is with their plan, you see, due to the truth that they have. A halfway found third motor along the fuselage, the wings of a tri-fly can be found nearer to the tail of the airplane without influencing the weight conveyance. This permits the principal lodge exit in section ways to be set all the more halfway, which thusly prompts speedier boarding and leaving and consequently more limited circle back times. This plan additionally implies the airplane's focal point of gravity is shifted towards the back, and this further develops fuel effectiveness. Yet that is not all. Another advantage Trijets have is their additional push, which prompts gotten to the next level. Departure execution, particularly when contrasted with twin. Trijets are more qualified for taking off from air terminals with hot and high conditions, and those where the landscape close to the runway may be an issue since they require a more limited departure run. Because of their additional fly motor, Trijets are additionally fit for mid-market long-stretch flights, which made it conceivable for carriers to convey nearly as quite a large number of travelers as they would on a quad fly while saving money on fuel utilization due to the one less motor prior to the period of ETAP's guidelines. Trijets paraded another amazing advantage they could acquire: leeway to perform pixie trips with just 2 of their 3 motors working. This was an advantage likewise shared by quad planes, yet carriers considered them to be the more fuel-proficient choice of the two. These benefits prompted the ubiquity of the Trijets. However, as guidelines started to change, a couple of blemishes in the plan would start to show defects, which would eventually lead to the ruin of Trijets. You see, Trijets have consistently confronted a large group of issues in any event. During the pinnacle of their ubiquity, regardless of the reality that the aft focal point of gravity planned, if most Trijets gives them further developed eco-friendliness, it likewise leads to the airplane being somewhat less steady and more hard to deal with during departure. And handling another issue is that the benefit of cost productivity that Trijet holds over a quad stream is nearly nullified because of the intricacies of a third motor being mounted through the tail. This came about in Trijets, in spite of consuming less fuel, could in reality cost more to secure. Yet notwithstanding every one of the issues looked by Trijets, nobody would come any place close to being as lethal to their future as the presentation of a TOPS 180. As all of you realize, all airplanes have a period cutoff to which they could fly in a solitary motor before they would need to stop at an air terminal. Yet when Trijets were first fostered, the standard was essentially restricted to twin planes, and as far as possible was set at an hour anyway by 1990. Due to enhancements in motor innovation, the rule would be stretched out to permit select airplanes fly in a solitary working motor for an incredible 180 minutes. This expansion successfully shadowed each advantage. The Trijet was clutching as twin jets, which have more present day and strong motors on normal, could now effectively cover the significant distances that used to be saved for Trijets. What's more, quad planes these days, Trijets are still being used, however, primarily for freight transport, as most carriers and travelers have made up their brain that twin planes are the most practical choice for them. So where do Trijets go from here? Well, it looked all bleak for Trijets. Furthermore, it likely was essentially for the current cycle of appalling airplanes which were worked before the 1990s. However, there appeared to be a promising sign for the Trijet development with the appearance of startup supersonic airplane producer Blast Supersonic Blast. Supersonic was established in 2014 and immediately burst onto the scene with their imaginative thoughts for air travel. You see, they reported the arranged creation of the Blast Suggestion, a triple-stream motor, 65 to 88-seat traveler carrier that could go at 1.7 times the speed of sound also, was wanted to be presented in 2029. Anyway, misfortune struck for the Tri-Stream. Yet again, development as the Blast Suggestion, which was at first intended to be a Trijet, was changed to a quad stream for reasons. For example, support cost decrease and accomplishing supersonic speeds without max engine thrust, among others. This was a gigantic catastrophe for what was a tremendous rebound opportunity for Trijets. And despite the fact that Blast Supersonic would likewise plan the Blast XB1, a Trijet supersonic demonstrator proposed to be controlled by 3 General Electric J85s that could arrive at velocities of up to 2.2 times the speed of sound, it was restricted to a limit of only 2 travelers, so it scarcely even combined with the great plan of things. So that's it. Every one of the ups and downs of Trijets at the second It appears what used to be a perfect balance that could exploit has transformed into a significant detriment. Do you think Blast Supersonic may redevelop the possibility of a supersonic trijet later on? Or are trijets bound to be the old experts of freight till they blur into insensibility?